There's 100 million things that people tell you that you need to homeschool. They'll even tell you that you don't need a fancy schoolroom to homeschool. But I want you to know that I've compiled a list of things that you do not need in order to homeschool successfully. And my husband and I have tucked them inside our book, 13 Teeny Tiny Truth Bombs About Homeschooling. Discovering the heart of homeschool is not found in boxed curriculum. There are things that you do not need to homeschool successfully. You ready? So, number one, the first one is if you put your hand right here, you're going to go, phew, ready? Ready? Phew. You don't need a lot of money. Homeschooling can be affordable with free or used curriculum. 29, almost 30% of homeschool families have an income of less than $50,000 a year. And a lot of homeschool incomes are similar to that of people that have kids in public school. You don't need to make a lot of money to educate your kids well. There are so many resources available to you at your library. It even sometimes you can access the local schools. There are homeschool co-ops and homeschool share type things around there. We homeschooled almost for free all the way through high school, and the kids turned out just fine. No damage for the wear. Number two, you don't have to have both parents staying at home. Some people homeschool and they still work full or part-time. Now, that doesn't mean that it's easy. So if you are a working homeschooler, you're going to want to tap into a community that has working homeschoolers that homeschool in a way that you want to copy. Okay, be very careful. If you ask 12 homeschoolers their opinions online, you're going to get 17 different opinions because all of their children are different. Everybody has a different season. Be a professional fruit inspector. Make sure that the people you're getting advice from are actually living a life that you would want to pattern yours after. Number three, things you don't need to homeschool: a dedicated schoolroom. Okay, this, although it feels like a wonderful dream. I always wanted to be a classroom teacher. I always imagined standing in front of the whiteboard and giving these eloquent lectures for my students and my children, and that they would just be on the edge of their seats. But I had 5 busy boys, and that just was never it was just never an option. We did almost all of our homeschooling at the kitchen table or in the living room or out and about in the world. You don't need a fancy schoolroom. Okay. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a big one. Pay attention. You do not need anyone's approval to homeschool. Homeschooling decisions do not require validation from anybody else. Confidence in homeschooling is key despite different choices that you choose. You can block out all the people that are telling you that your kids are not going to succeed if you choose to educate them in this way. That is not true. The only way that your children will not succeed is if you neglect their education. You neglect training them to be amazing adults. But if you, like me, you, like my husband and I, are desiring to raise up adults that are an amazing asset to the world, and you're willing to learn as you go, your kids are going to be just fine and they're going to get an amazing education. Number 5, things that you don't need to homeschool your kids. This one's going to set somebody free. Okay, so buckle your seatbelt. You do not need to have extreme patience to homeschool. Do you know how many people, when I say that we homeschool our kids, they say, oh, I could never homeschool. I don't have the patience for that. I can't understand why they think I do. I'm not the most patient person on the planet. Just ask my family. I am not the most patient person on the planet. You don't need more patience for homeschooling than you do for every other part of life. Patience in homeschooling is You need it to just deal with life's challenges. And honestly, that's where I lean really heavily on the Lord, because without the Lord, but I don't know how you can even fold laundry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6. Excuse me. The sixth thing that you do not need to homeschool your kids is a college degree. You don't need to have formal training. You don't need to have certificates. You don't need to pass tests. You just need to be willing to learn right alongside your kids and to model. And I'm excited to learn. I don't understand this yet, but if we study this together and we get help, we're going to get this together. You just need to model learning and be willing to learn as you go. The next one, you do not need a lot of time to homeschool. Oh my goodness. I taught in a classroom for a few years before we stepped into homeschooling. And I was shocked when I sat at the kitchen table to teach. We started with 2 at home, a 5th grader and a kindergartner. That's when we started homeschooling. And I was stunned that it only took like an hour, took 45 minutes to homeschool the kindergartner. And then the 5th grader barely took 2 hours. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do with the rest of the day? Learning curve. It's different when you're teaching 1 2nd grader, 1 5th grader. It's different. You're not managing a classroom of 5th graders. You're not managing a classroom of kindergartners. You have 1. And so it's easier to do it. You're not even rushing. And still, it just doesn't take that much time. Okay, you also don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th thing that you don't need is a calendar and a schedule that looks like a classroom schedule. Now, you do you. We ran our day through a routine. We had a flow to our day. We got up, we did breakfast, we did family circle time type stuff where we would do numbers and days of the week and that kind of stuff. And the day rolled through from one thing to the next versus 8 o'clock is this, 9 o'clock is this, 9:15 is. I've seen some of y'all's homeschool schedules and they make me break out into cold sweats. Don't do that unless you are one of those people that is able to manage a schedule like that with grace and dignity, and there's just joy that reigns in your house. Some of you are gifted in organization and scheduling like that. And so I would tell you to do you. For me, it's just a flow, just a gentle flow of the day. Number 9. Somebody sometime is going to ask your kids what grade they're in, and your kids are going to look at you because they don't know, because they do reading level, grade 2 reading, and they do grade 7 math, and they do grade 4 science. So what does that mean? Don't worry about it. The beauty of homeschool is that you get to customize your child's education and you don't have to stamp them a certain grade. Remember, and in the descriptions, you'll find the link to our free masterclass, the 3 stages of homeschool. There are only 3. The foundations, where they learn to read and understand that numbers mean things, patterns, colors, that kind of stuff. Number 2, flourishing and fun stage. That's the magic of homeschooling. And then the last one is launching, when you identify what they're going to do or what they think they're going to do after high school and you tailor their education to help them get there. Grade levels were invented by people that sell curriculum. They want you to buy level 3 because you had level 2 last year, and they make the print really big so that there's peer pressure, so that your kids will feel bad if they're 12 and they're still in a 2nd grade something. Grade levels just don't matter. The last one, and there are others, but the last one is that you don't need to go to co-op if you're a homeschooler. If that fits your family and the season of life that you're in, perfect. But sometimes co-ops can add a lot of stress and drama. And I say that from experience, right? We've had the seasons where we had a cooperative type group going with, there were 5 of us. We had 25 kids between us. We were a prolific bunch. Very blessed season, amazing, amazing families. But it was just for a season. And when the season was over, we could not have continued doing the same thing because it would have been a burden. It would have put too much pressure on us to do what the other people were doing. Co-ops can be wonderful. They're really great resources. They're a really great way to tap into other people's expertise. But you have to, I go back to, you have to be a fruit inspector. You have to make sure that the people that you're allowing to invest in you and into your children's lives and hearts are sharing things that you want to show up in your life and in your children's life. And I can tell you that not everybody's on the same page. Not everybody's going to believe how you believe. Not everybody's going to think about education the way that you do. And if you're following a rigorous co op, they're going to put unnecessary pressure on you to do curriculum that might not be a good fit for you. So, co ops are not necessary for you to successfully homeschool. So, that is at the back part of our book, teeny tiny things you don't need. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a stay-at-home parent, although it does help. You don't need a schoolroom, anyone's approval. You don't need extreme patience. You don't need a teaching certificate or a college degree, a lot of time, a rigorous schedule. You don't need grade levels, and you don't need to be a part of a co-op. Isn't that good news? Okay, look in the descriptions, find the free masterclass so that you can truly understand what the 3 stages of homeschool are. That is really paramount to helping just break you free from curriculum and stepping into the homeschool life of your dreams. See you next time.